Let's take a look at your report. First, your cleavage speed is 108.8 in our calculation. This is slightly below below the elite men's average, including professionals, college players, and some teaching professionals here. And then, for your height, you are generating speed a bit lower than your absolute speed here. So. And the swing time is about 900 milliseconds. One is the beginning of the backswing, and then 0 is impact. So overall, it takes about 0.9 seconds. The overall time is good.
Okay. That's about normal.
Actually, the normal is a slight over 1,000.
Okay.
But I want to see a faster backswing. And then this graph here shows cleavage speed during the backswing up to this point. Okay, this is during the backswing. It peaks right in the middle of the backswing here, time-wise. But I want to see this peak more shifted this way here.
Okay.
So around the 3 and 4 here. 3 is when the lead arm is paired to the ground on the way back. And then 4 is when the club is aligned vertically in the frontal view.
Yeah.
So around here, if it reaches peak value, it's a lot better. So in other words, you need to develop the climax toward the end of the backswing.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is right in the middle of this. And then if the cleavage speed reaches peak value in the middle of the backswing, then generally your body action will be earlier.
Okay.
So you have a quick early action. That's why the cleavage speed reaches peak value about here. So we will see that in the kinematic sequence pattern. And then also, if you look at the events, 8 and 7 here, these are switched. Typically, the order should be 7 and 8.
Okay.
7 is on the way down. 7 is when the lead arm is paired to ground. And the 8 is when the club is aligned vertically in the frontal view. But these are switched. That means you are letting the club go away from your body way early.
Okay.
This is really unusual.
Okay.
Even when people have casting action or letting the club go away, but still the order will be 7 and 8. The question is the time gap between them. If you keep the club close to the body for a relatively longer period of time, the 7 and 8 will separate more. If you tend to let it go early, then they will be close to each other. But you are actually in the reverse order. This is highly unusual. This is 1 out of 1,000. The probability is that low. So that means you are letting the club. Actually, you are not having enough wrist cock to start with.
Yeah. I've always noticed it kind of John Rahm's, it doesn't get all the way back.
But in John Rahm's case, it's just a shallowing, excessive shallowing, if you look at. But it doesn't mean you are not letting the club go.
Yeah.
So it's a bit different. So later we'll see that aspect as well. But 7 and 8 are switched. This is highly unusual. And then this is a top view. As a result, what happens is so this is the swing plane calculated from the cleavage motion. And the swing plane is aligned inward. It's a fairly large angle here, out to in. So 6 degrees out to in.
Yeah, on my driver, I'm always pretty good out to in, and then the rest of the clubs I'm a little more square.
Yep. So if you recall, when we're capturing the data, when you use the foam ball, the ball hit the door.
Yeah.
And then bounced that way.
Yeah,
so
they're all starting left.
Yeah.
I play a cut basically every time with the driver.
Yeah. So your swing plane is inward, and then this smaller rectangle is the hand motion plane. It is calculated from the hand motion. It's also inward.
Okay.
And a similar angle here. So essentially, the hand motion plane and cleavage plane, these are parallel to each other. However, this is a bit too much inward here.
Yeah.
So you always have to have good fade spin, or otherwise the ball will pull the ball. Okay?
Either pull or slice.
So that's what I see here. And then this is when everything is aligned along the swing plane here. This is your swing plane, which you calculate from the cleavage motion here. It's almost a single plane swing here.
Yeah.
It's because you have really limited backswing here. So initially, the cleavage goes actually below the swing plane, and you eventually lift it up here, up to this point. But when this club alignment is compared to the swing plane, this is essentially layoff.
Yeah.
Okay, because the cleavage stays closer to the swing plane than the hands, and partially because the swing plane is a bit steep here.
Okay.
It's 50 degrees, but for your height, it could be 48 degrees, so it's a bit steep. If the swing plane goes right below this point here, it goes this way, then this will be more parallel to the swing plane.
Okay.
But so currently your swing plane is a bit steeper than typical. And it's really, backswing is really small here.
Yeah.
It's quite limited. So because of this, when you start the downswing, the club is actually moving ahead of your hands.
Okay.
That's why the 7 and 8, event 7 and 8 are switched. Here it's a 4 and 3, but if we look at this in the frontal view, then, so from here, look at this action. While your shoulders are opening, your club is moving out here. This is really inefficient. So when the club stays away from the body, and when you try to rotate about the spine axis, and perhaps about the center of mass here, then the system moment of inertia becomes large. Moment of inertia is the resistance to rotational acceleration. So when you have a large moment of inertia, then you end up with a smaller rotational acceleration.
Okay.
So when the club is about here versus here, in terms of moment of inertia, you see big difference.
Yeah.
So then, even if you put a lot of the effort here, it's not translated to cleavage speed.
Yeah.
Because you are using most of the effort to overcome the
Short
moment of
back
inertia.
Yeah.
And you're opening the chest early, and then this is pretty much moving away from your body. So this is when the club is aligned vertically in the frontal view. This is 8 here. And then after that, when the lead arm is parallel to the ground, this is 7. So these are switched.
Yeah.
This is highly unusual. Okay, I rarely see this pattern. Being unique is good, but not this way.
So I'm moving away as I'm coming down, basically.
Yeah, you're opening here, and then you're letting it go out here.
Okay. Yeah.
So by the time you have your lead arm, parallel to the ground, the club should be still here. Then later you can let the club go.
Yeah.
You can have a release. But if the club goes away this much here, then you cannot generate good speed using the wrist complex here. The wrist complex is the most important contributor to the cleavage speed.
Okay.
But when this happens, you would not be able to add much speed using the wrist complex. So when we go to the kinematic sequence here, so this is your club angular velocity. This is elite man's average. So you're way below that.
So that's where I'm losing most of that speed.
So you are not generating good speed by rotating, but you have to move your body linearly or something to compensate that. So this is the club peak angular velocity here. This is elite man's average of club angular velocity. This is the elite man's average of wrist angular velocity, but your pink line here is way below man's average.
Yeah.
If you increase the wrist angular velocity, then this also increases.
Yeah.
So near the impact, it is important to generate high enough wrist angular velocity so that club can also rotate fast. So wrist motion should be added toward the end rather than early. But because you don't have much backswing here, So you don't have much wrist cock to start with. So your wrist contribution is limited from the beginning. And also, as you can see, this pink line is the wrist angular velocity. So this is the top of action here. As soon as you start that downswing, the pink line stays above the axis, right? This is uncocking.
Yeah.
So you're starting uncocking early. Although you have hesitation here and then start major uncocking here. However, uncocking starts early.
Yeah.
But this has to be down here. So more cocking during the downswing,
Okay.
and then delay the uncocking here. But you're starting uncocking early. This is inevitable because you don't have enough initial cocking here.
Yeah.
And then when
So there's just no room to.
so you're turning this way and you're letting the club go that way here. So you're quickly losing the wrist cock. So this is an unusual posture here. And then your wrist contribution is really low. So, so you're putting a lot of effort right now in the swing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And particularly you have a short backswing, so as soon as you go here and you have a quick transition, with that, you're using your effort a lot.
All the coaches say I swing really hard at the ball.
Yeah, but
I used to hit it a lot further, so that's one of the reasons I wanted to come here to try to
so
figure out
that
the good
effort,
stuff. Yeah.
that effort is not translated to a club speed. So you are putting that effort to overcome your moment of inertia because you have a large system moment of inertia here. So most of it is just to use the fighting your moment of inertia. But if you keep moment of inertia smaller, by keeping the club close to the body, then you will be able to generate a lot faster rotation of the body. And then eventually when you let the club go, then your club will move faster here. So this angular velocity will go up here, this will go up here. So this is really inefficient.
Yeah.
So go back to the swing plane again here. So it looks like this is almost a one plane swing, but one plane swing is actually bad.
Yeah.
So you have to keep the swing plane a bit lower here, and then toward the end of the backswing, your hands and club will stay above the swing plane. So with that, on the way down, when you drop this, and then you can have this shallow and then wrist action here. So in order to use wrist well, it's actually better to keep it a bit higher than the swing plane here. And as you drop, and then let it go here.
Yeah.
So that way you can lower your swing plane a little bit here. So currently the swing plane is steep, and then your backswing is really limited here. Okay, and then the center of mass motion here. So this is the whole body center of mass path. So this is the initial position here. And then during the backswing, your center of mass moves away and the up. So usually at 5 here, 5 is the end of pelvis rotations. When the pelvis rotation is completed, at this point you have to keep the center of mass at the high point. But the high point occurs later, about here.
Okay.
And then also from 3 and 4 here, about here, the center of mass should start moving toward the target early. But you don't have this early recentering here.
Okay.
So instead of turning and then staying there, throw and then your body is already shifting this way. But in your case, because what's happening is you tend to
Stay back on it.
so when you go to this position here, this is top of action here, your pelvis is slightly sticking out this way here. And your pelvis is rotated too much.
Okay.
So the right knee is actually sticking out this way. If you connect the right heel, right elbow, the right ankle and hip here, then with a straight line, then right knee is outside.
Yeah.
That means you're turning too much.
Okay.
So in the front of you, pretty much, if you have reasonable rotation, then this will appear straight here.
So my hips are turning too much?
Too much.
Okay. That's interesting because I thought with the short backswing I needed to get more hip turn to get it longer.
But actually, the one that should have the largest range of motion is more peripheral part of the body instead of here.
Yeah. Okay.
So this actually that may promote your short backswing
Yeah. Oh.
because this is sort of an excuse
Okay. Yeah.
for short backswing. Okay, I have short backswing, but I'll turn more.
Yeah. Now I can make up for hips.
But then if the pelvis turns too much, then what happens is typically if you turn your pelvis a lot, then on the way down you will turn back, right? Then you have early turning of the pelvis, then early opening of the chest as well.
Yeah, which is what I'm doing.
So when the right knee sticks out this way, then that's typically too much rotation here. And then these, a lot of things are delayed here. So usually this curve should change direction toward the target. This is toward the target, this is away, but around here. So the curve goes here and then more turning this way here. But it's pretty much staying there. And when this is when the center of mass stays most away position here. This is late. And then when you reach this endopelvis rotation position, it should be the high point. And after that, it should start moving downward. But you have a more upward motion up to this point. And then when you are at the top of backswing here, you are here. But then, this is actually, the center of mass is moving upward a bit too much. So you have a lot of upward motion because you mostly try to stay high up here without rotating the club that much. But then on the way down, the center of mass drops here, but it should reach below this initial point here.
So like going down a little to the ball.
You have to drop it more and then naturally stand up. And then the center of mass should move this way quite a bit.
Okay.
So good center of mass motion. It could be as much as shifting away by 5 centimeters, about 2 inches. And from here to here,
So forward 4 inches.
yeah, about 6 inches. Okay, 2 inches here, 4 and the 6 about here.
Yeah. So 2 back before forward.
Yeah. But you're not really shifting. Just you're coming. This is impact. 10 is impact. You're just coming back to initial position here. You don't have shift toward motion here. So that's what I see. And then the pelvis should show a simple motion. It's going slight away, going down and up here. But the pelvis certainly goes really high up here. So you have a lot of up and down motion, but not much lateral motion here.
Okay.
And the more important, this has to drop here. And then the low point should occur at 8.
Okay.
8 is when, on the way down, when the club is aligned vertically. That's the low point, typically. So your timings are off. Okay? Everything is delayed here. The high point here, the change of direction toward the target is delayed. The high point is delayed. The low point is delayed. And then not much shift toward the target here. And the pelvis here. So this red line is a pelvis rotation to the right and to the left here. So you are rotating more than man's average. And then you also have a more rotated position at impact.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
So this and this are the elite man's average both ways. But so you are rotating right more, left more. So instead of throwing this, and you have to throw a motion and then let it turn, you are lifting this. Then here, you're keeping your lead arm too straight.
Okay.
Generally, people have a slightly flexed lead arm position here. It's just way straight, and then the club is way outside here. So what happens is, when the club is aligned horizontally here, hand should be in front of your thigh.
Yeah.
If your wrist motion is reasonable, then the hands will stay in front of your thigh here. It's way outside, and then your This posture shows a stuck elbow position here.
That's what I've been trying to fix for like 5 years.
So let's go back to this one here. Yeah, when the club is aligned horizontally here, when you draw a vertical line, then elbow should be either on the line or slight outside. But it's inside here. That means you have tendency of stuck elbow as well. But the pelvis rotation too much. And then, so it is shift away motion, and then shift toward, and you're returning to the initial position, and then you're moving, but you don't have that much motion toward the target.
Yeah.
You have to give a lot more shift toward the target here. On the other hand, that your central mass of the pelvis is moving forward too much. This red line is forward motion, backward here, but the forward motion too much.
So the pelvis is going forward, but the rest of the body's not.
Yeah, and then also if you look at this one here, this up and down motion, it does not show much up and down motion. Then suddenly you are dropping this here. So when this happens, when you have a sudden dropping of the body and then it's moving up quite a bit, then that means typically you'll push the ground too much. So when this happens, you have abrupt transition. Normally this should be staying here up to this point and then gradually going down and up and then stay slightly above the initial position at impact here. But in your case, it's hesitating, it's basically staying there. And suddenly here with the initiation of downswing, you are dropping and then pushing high up here. So this leads to an excessive force to the ground. Then you will see your ground reaction force is a lot larger than the average. But then most instructors will say, "Ooh, you have really good amount of force generated," but it's too much.
Yeah, I've noticed when I go to the range, like under my feet, I tear up all the grass because it's moving so much. And
So-
my feet spin out of it too because I'm rotating and pushing.
So you see, this is the ground reaction force. This is elite man's average. Your force goes way above here, so you're generating a good amount of force. But how do we know whether it's too much or not? It's here at impact. At impact, your force goes way below your body weight.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So it's called unweighting. Because you push it too hard here, you have unweighting here. When the unweighting occurs, the torque generated goes in the opposite direction. So I will explain this later. But so when you look at the pelvis up and down motion, up to this point, it's not moving that much here, and suddenly dropping it and then pushing high here. That means you have excessive force generated. Your goal is to push the ground with that, you're generating rotation rather than actually moving up here. So in this one here, your heels are leaving the ground. You're almost jumping here, which is quite common among junior players. Junior players, because the body is not well developed yet, the muscles are not conditioned fully, so they tend to use the whole body and jump a little bit. But for your height, and you don't have to do that. Just push the ground and generate good turning motion instead of jumping up. Your goal is not to jump up, but to generate good turning motion. Okay. So that's what I see here. And then when the club is aligned vertically here, your hands are in. This is swing plane view, but your hands are way above the center of shoulder here, or even left shoulder. This means this is excessive rotation here.
Okay.
Because you try to put a lot of effort to try to swing through, and then exaggerate follow through motion here, and then you have a lot of pelvis rotation. So instead of swing using the leg and pushing the ground, and you turn around the lead leg here. So shift more toward, and then that will allow the lead leg to be at the foundation. So with that, swing and turn around and just to finish here instead of. Because of this jump and then try to swing hard, so you are reaching really high position there.
Okay.
So this is exaggerated finish here. Okay, and then at this point, the more force is acting on the trail side here. And then the X factor here, this separation between the shoulder line and hip line here. So when the two lines are parallel to each other, so the hip line here, the shoulder line here, then X factor of 0 here. Then as the shoulders rotate more, then you have X factor, the separation. That is the top of backswing here. And then the peak occurs way after the top of backswing. This is because at the beginning of the downswing, look at the pelvis motion here. Your pelvis is opening. From this here, and then your pelvis is opening early.
Yeah.
With that, the X factor increases. This means that you have poor backswing. Also, this is a misunderstanding.
Because I'm trying to get to a good spot from the bad backswing.
Because your body, your muscles are not ready from the backswing motion, so you have to do something. And typically, typically you open the pelvis early.
So the pelvis is leading the chest, then.
Yeah, and this is actually often emphasized by instructors. So they are promoting this poor motion here, actually.
Yeah, no, I think my last lesson, they're saying I need to get my hips out in front of my chest more.
So in the backswing, if you have enough stretch. So
they also told me I wasn't using my hips enough in my swing.
So when you have good momentum here, when you have fast enough motion here, it automatically will create good separation.
Yeah, like I was pre-med. It's like the torque, like the going back creates the down kind of.
Go here, enough separation, then all you do is just throw upper body.
Yeah.
But you don't have to go this way here. Because during backswing is not active enough, then you have to do this, and then try to do this. So when the X factor increases beyond the top of backswing, that means you have poor backswing. So when you have active backswing and the enough separation, then the peak occurs at the top of backswing.
So most of these issues, it sounds like, are because of that poor back, like reactionary to that backswing.
So with this, instead of keeping the lead arm too straight here, allow it slightly flexed here, and then bring the club here. If you can bring the club here, then your swing changes completely.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. So and then kinematic sequence again. So I said earlier, your club speed reaches a peak value during the backswing, right in the middle of the backswing, right? So this is the club angular velocity. From here to here, this is top of backswing. So again, it's pretty much in the middle of the backswing here. The reason is, this is pelvis. The red line is pelvis. Pelvis reaches peak angular velocity here, way early.
Yeah.
You have chest and shoulders here after that. And then this is the arms. Arms and the club pretty much at the same time here. Because these body parts reach peak angular velocity early, that means you have a quick early action. Quick and you are lifting this.
Yeah.
So typically when you have a quick rotation here and then too much time here, that means you have after that you have slow arm motion here.
Yeah.
So quick initiation, then slow motion here, instead of one-piece motion all the way here. If you have a more one-piece motion, you can build the climax more toward the end of the backswing.
Yeah.
So the body rotation is pretty much reaching peak angular velocity here at the beginning of the backswing here. Then after that, you are lifting this up all the way here. It's this top of backswing. You don't have enough wind up here. You just rotate the pelvis quite a bit while limiting the club motion.
Is the chest?
Just this rotation is enough.
So it's just the hands aren't getting
Yeah,
far.
you have to let the club go more. So you have to use the wrist complex more. And then on the way down here, this is peak angular velocity of the pelvis. This is severely delayed. This has to happen at 8. So about here.
Okay.
The red line should reach peak about here, and then have enough time from here to impact so that the pelvis angular velocity decreases here. But your pelvis, this is the shoulders and this is the arms, but these are all delayed here quite a bit. But these are happening almost close to a 9, when the club is aligned horizontally here. But these are severely delayed. Then you don't have that much time from here to impact. So what should happen is the body slows down and then club further speeds up. So the first half of the backswing, your goal is to generate fast rotation of the body. In the second half of the backswing, your goal is to slow down the body while further speeding up the club. So that way you can, in order to do that, you have to transfer your body momentum to the club. But in order to do that, you must have good wrist motion there. But if you don't, already the club is away from your body, so you don't have that much room for wrist motion. It's hard to transfer the momentum. That's why you have to delay the uncocking as much as possible. So these peaks are all delayed. The transition here, we see the hands and club are pretty much transitioning at the same time. You see and start downswing like this. And so go here and then start this way and then let it go.
So the hands should lead.
Yeah, you should have this. Yeah. So you should be able to feel the motion of the end of the club, then let it go, and then come down here, and then also let it go. So you need to use your wrist complex a lot better. Again, as I said, the highest contribution to the club head speed is coming from the wrist complex. So more than anything, you have to use the wrist complex well. If you don't use the wrist complex, then you have to put a lot of effort to move the body fast.
Which is what I'm doing. Yeah.
Then you have to spend a lot, you have to waste a lot of energy for that. But you only have good effort in the first half and generate enough speed of the body. After that, just by transferring the energy your body has to the club, you can further speed up the club. So you don't have to keep putting effort. Then you don't have to have exaggerated the finish position here.
Yeah.
So, and then you have to delay these peaks more toward the center here, middle of the backswing. Then these peaks will be delayed. So you're building climax toward the end of the backswing. And then you have a good connected transition to the downswing here, and then let it go. Yeah, but you have to, more than anything, you have to practice using your wrist complex better. So in order to do that, you have to really feel the motion of the club head. You throw this and then let it go, and you have to feel this motion, and then also have a throwing action here instead of.
Yeah.
So liberate your wrist more. And then now let's see how you interact with the ground. So the middle one is the amount of force you generate. Okay. So the red line is the total force. Green is the force acting on the lead foot. Blue is the force acting on the trail foot here. And this line is one body weight. So in terms of the force, how large it is relative to body weight is important. If this force is greater than body weight, so for example here, this is above the body weight, it's called active push.
Yeah.
When the force goes below the body weight, this is called the unweighting. Okay? So we are interacting with the ground in the vertical direction by having active push and the unweighting repeatedly. So slight unweighting here, and then push, unweighting, and push. And then here you have early unweighting here. So we are repeating unweighting, push all the time.
So that early unrating is when I come up on my feet.
So this is too much here. And then the peak should be, even the force peak should occur around ED, which is 8 here. But if you have more force here, added here, that means you are intentionally pushing the ground to jump.
Yeah.
This force up to this point here, this force is coming from slowing down of the downward motion. When you let the body drop, and then eventually by pushing the ground, you can slow down the drop. With that, you are generating maximum force about here. That's enough.
Yeah.
And then if this goes down here, and then it will go more toward the body weight here. But you have a more push, you have intentional jump here. So you're adding this force, then you must have this unweighting at the end. So this is unnecessary unweighting here.
Yeah.
Because of jumping. Okay. Now, so these arrows show the magnitude and direction of the forces. So in the backswing, initially you have more force acting on the lead foot. This is good. Okay, you have more force. So with that, you are starting the backswing. And now the two forces equal to each other.
Is that good?
Yeah, you have to cross this, and then so here you have maximum force, maximum combined force here, and then slightly after that you have most push from the trail side here. Okay, this is peaked here. Up to this point, this is okay. Okay. However, so and then generally, if you look at this force pattern, because your swing time is less than 900 milliseconds, so this is what I expect. And that the fact that you are starting the backswing with the lead leg, this is also good. Okay. So this this pattern is good here, up to this point, and then after that the force goes below the body weight, unweighting. This is good, continuous unweighting. But at this point here, so when you are
here, it's good.
so here this is the most unweighting. At this point, you must have the long the graph at the bottom. This is called the momentum, which is the separation between the red dot, which is center mass of the body, and then this line here. So if the point is here, the line is going this way, extend the force, then this separation, that's called the momentum or lever arm. You need to maintain this long.
Okay.
But usually, when you have a maximum unweighting, then this becomes a maximum, but it's not maximum. You are increasing this momentum later. By shifting the whole thing toward the lead foot here, you see? This way now, this is the longest momentum, but still it's below elite man's average. So usually the longest momentum has to occur about here, right after the top of action, but it should be a lot longer. The force, red line here, times this momentum is equal to the torque you generate in the frontal plane here. So that gives this rotation. And then even at the beginning of the downswing here, your torque is not much. This is elite man's average. Although later you exceed the elite man's average maximum. However,
when I create that big hip difference.
So this because the force is moving away from your body here. Yeah, the longest momentum here. But then after that, the torque peak occurs here by using the force here. So this is more force dominant. This is more force dominant pattern. Your lead leg, which is the maximum force here. With that, you have maximum torque. So this is called the force dominant pattern. It's too late.
Yeah.
The timing is too late. This peak, torque peak, should occur somewhere here. And then in order to have a really active downswing, at the top of action, you must have a good amount of torque generated. But at the beginning of the downswing, you don't have much torque generated because you are not really taking advantage of the backswing here.
Because it's that risk. Yeah.
And also, you have to connect the backswing to downswing. When you build the climax toward the end of the backswing, then you will have a continuous transition to the downswing in terms of the body. Okay, not for this one here. So when you have a good turn and then going into downswing here, then already when you start the downswing, you should have already good amount of torque generated. With that, you can have a good initial condition.
Yeah.
You can have active acceleration. But your torque is not much here. And then as the downswing progresses, now it becomes a maximum, but this is too late. And also, by the time you reach this position here, So it depends on which side the combined force is passing through. So right now, this force is passing on the right side of the central mass, right? But when you have this unrating here, now it's passing through the central mass, so the moment should be zero because moment time is 0. Then after that, the force goes on the left side of the central mass. Then the torque generated is going in the opposite direction. So while your body is rotating in the counterclockwise direction, the torque is acting in the clockwise direction. It's interfering with the rotation.
Yeah.
So at this point, you don't have to generate large force, so the large torque, so the torque can be around 0, but there's no reason to generate torque in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
It's because of this jumping. And then because the force is passing on the left side of the central mass, the moment time is negative, the torque is negative. So it impact here. So generally, this shape is okay. However, you need to generate good you need to have good horizontal interaction.
Yeah.
But you don't have that much horizontal interaction because you're not moving the central mass that much. So in order to have,
If I'd had that, then it would move that.
so what happens
forward.
when you have a good interaction, horizontal interaction with the ground, then about here, this force should be acting more toward the trail foot, and then the force has to give good inclination this way here. The force should incline more. If the force goes more this way, that means you have more horizontal force. So you must have good horizontal interaction during the swing, and then move this way and then swing here. But because you have limited motion this way, that means you are not pushing the ground this way that much. So the ground is not pushing you this way that much.
Not pushing it.
So then, even though you are generating a lot of force in the vertical direction here, this unweighting is also pretty good here in terms of magnitude and the continue.
Why do you want to unweight there?
In order to when you unweight, then you can push.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to push good, then you have to unweight it before that. So this unweighting continues all the way here. This is good, and then you have a good push. However, because your push is too much along the vertical direction, but you don't have that much push in the horizontal direction.
So that arrow just needs to kind of tilt down.
The arrow has to go this way here. When the arrow goes this way, then you have a lot more separation here. The momentum increases, then torque automatically increases with the same amount of force here. So because you are not, you tend to turn a lot, rotate the pelvis a lot, but you're not really shifting that much. So with this, you have too much vertical interaction. This is too much push here, which causes this unweighting here. So no need to push this much. If this is for jumping, but in golf swing, jumping is not the main purpose here. And then this maximum force should come from slowing down or downward motion instead of intentionally trying to jump. And then about this much, and then coming down more this way here, that's enough. When you reach the peak here, then the timing is okay. But because your peak is happening here, so this timing is delayed. So, so basically, what you see here is in the backswing, your goal should be give enough throw of the club around your body to not hold it here, but let it go all the way.
Yeah.
So you don't really have to worry about where it stops. If you just throw and then build the tension here, automatically it slows down and finish somewhere.
Okay. Yeah.
No need to intentionally try to hold it. So when it's here, automatically you have a longer runway here on the way down.
More room to generate speed.
And then you have more range and then time to accelerate the club head. And then also you're preserving the wrist cock here.
Yeah.
And then later, when you try to throw this, then the wrist contribution increases. And then also, with that, you also need to have a more horizontal movement here. You're moving away quite a bit, but not moving toward that much. So whole body central mass pretty much returns to your initial position.
Yeah, so a lot of those other issues are stemming from the wrist, it sounds like.
No, the wrist is more. Even that wrist motion is probably coming from not so active backswing here.
Okay.
So try to take advantage of the momentum of the backswing here instead of just nicely try to bring it here.
Okay.
But this is what the golfers are constantly fighting. Whether, so the goal of the backswing is whether you just bring it to this position or whether the quality of the backswing is important. But to me, biomechanics speaking, the quality of the backswing is important because the backswing affects how you move in the downswing. And then when you use the backswing well so that you connect the backswing to downswing, then you are not losing the effect of backswing.
Yeah.
But if you have hesitation at the top, then you lose the effect of backswing. So imagine you're throwing something here. You have to accurately control the direction and then throw this way versus, and then try to throw here.
That'd be hard.
Or even smaller motion and then try to throw.
Yeah.
So when you have a reasonably good continuous backswing to downswing here, it's a lot easier to generate the speed and then also direction control here. Because essentially the direction control in the downswing is determined by the direction control in the backswing here.
Yeah.
If you throw it in the right direction or just reverse the direction and throw, so you don't have to worry about adjusting here. But if the backswing is weak, then what happens? On the way down, you have to control the direction. Unless you have, the guiding system, then you have trouble.
Yeah.
So usually with the backswing also, when you have active backswing, the body sends you the signal here. You can feel the motion of the backswing better here. With that, you can control. In terms of proprioception, your body constantly try to give you the input, sensory input. Using that, you can easily control this. But if this is weak, then you have limited the sensory input.
Okay.
So you have to control everything in the downswing. So while maintaining this kind of time frame here, about 900 milliseconds or slightly less than 900 milliseconds, but you need to
You
develop
said the average is a little over 1,000, but you like seeing it less.
faster backswing.
Yeah.
Faster backswing does a
So you like this overall speed of the backswing range.
Yes, so you have to make it faster and then build the climax toward the end instead of early quick action.
Yeah.
Okay? So instead of having the image of initially starting faster here, initially just the rhythmic start and then build the climax toward the end here instead of.
Yeah.
Angular momentum. You will see here the angular momentum transfer here. So this is the red line is the whole body angular momentum. Angular momentum decreases from 9 to 10. And 9 is when the club is horizontal, 10 is impact. It's decreasing because the torque you are generating toward the end of the downswing is actually going in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Okay? But there is no reason to lose this angular momentum. You just maintain this here. Your body loses this much angular momentum here from the peak to this point here. It loses this much angular momentum. Then your club gains angular momentum from here to here.
Yeah.
So this gain in the club angular momentum is sum of the angular momentum transfer from your body to the club and what you gain from this phase, but you're not gaining much total angular momentum here. This is the peak here. Let's move the arrow here. So this is when the body angular momentum becomes a peak, maximum here. So this level and then the level at impact, there's no change here overall, right? Because you gain but you lose.
Yeah.
So overall there's no change. So that means you cannot get the additional angular momentum from the ground. Okay, there's no input of angular momentum from the ground. So this is what the body loses, and then from here to here, this is what the club gains. They are the same. But with that, if this continues, if it increases continuously, then the club will gain.
Mm-hmm.
If you maintain this loss here, but
But the club keeps getting
the overall angular momentum increases, then your club angular momentum will also increase.
Mm-hmm.
And then if your body loses momentum more, then this even goes more.
Mm-hmm.
So some good players, actually, the club has twice as large momentum
That's the body.
as the body at impact. But in your case, your club has a smaller angular momentum than the body.
So my speed's coming from my body, not from the club.
So then I will bring up another pattern here, which will inspire you quite a bit here. This is Grant Waite, former PGA Tour player. By the way, talk to Scotty and then ask him to come in. Yeah. Because
I wonder what you'd see on his footwork stuff.
his swing can be a good study material for us. He's turning quite a bit, so he doesn't need to keep the foot there. So
What makes his feet come or push back?
because his body is turning really fast here.
Yeah.
Yeah. If still maintain communication, then tell him. Is coach still Scott Shuffler? Randy.
Randy Smith.
So the one at the Glen Eagle, Scott Schaefer.
Oh, he works with Randy Smith at Royal Oaks.
Yeah, talk to him, and then I want to. He may not gain anything, but for us and the general golf community,
Yeah.
it's a good study material.
Yeah.
So see why
Crazy.
yeah. So
I wonder what Matthew Wolf is like.
It'll be really interesting. So okay, if you look at this one here, the peak occurs here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then he generates good speed here. Top view, these are pretty much well aligned toward the target. So from the swing plane here, at the top, his hands and club are located quite away from the swing plane. But by dropping this, and then he can also use wrist better here. Let it go here. You can see this action here.
Yeah.
And the swing plane also is reasonable here. His height should be similar to yours, and then it's about slightly less than 47 degrees here. Center of mass motion here goes away, going up, so reaches high point around end of pelvis rotation. When the pelvis rotation is completed, you're at the high point. Also, you start shifting toward the target about here. This is the high point. Here's the low point. And look at that, the 7 and 8 are well separated.
Yeah.
And then going this way. So he's actually moving more than So he moves from here to shift away. This is, I think, the center of the stance here, but he starts from here, so shifts away for about 2 inches, and then going here about 4 inches.
Mm-hmm.
So overall about 6 inches.
Yeah.
So he has clean motion.
He's moved
down and up here. Yeah. Pelvis here and here. And the continuous going down and then up motion here. Shift away and then recenter here and then keep moving toward the target.
Mm-hmm.
Expect reaches peak value here. Kinematic sequence, well-spaced transition sequence here. And then the pelvis peak occurs at the center. So these are pretty much happening at in the middle of the backswing. So the arms and then club delayed here.
Mm-hmm.
His wrist goes more cocking here, delayed on the cocking, and it reaches this much here, and then it goes above. And then timing is also earlier here. And then this is the way he interacts with the ground. So again, he's also starting the backswing with the more little leg forces here. And in his case, at the beginning, he's not rushing that much. He doesn't have a quick early action. So he takes more time from here to here.
Yeah.
His time gap is longer than yours, but from here to here is a lot shorter because he's building climax toward the end.
So it's like a gradual speed up.
Yeah. So initially just give good push, and then instead of a quick action, good push, and then build the climax toward the end, and then continuous transition. So by the time he reaches at the top, you see,
Yeah, it's way more forward.
and then the longest momentum occurs about here, and then first the peak occurs here. So pretty much at the beginning of the downswing, he's generating torque close to close to elite man's average maximum, and he maintains it through up to this point here. And then his peak force occurs early when the club is aligned vertically. A good push from the lead foot here. The trail foot force is not much. And then at impact, still the force is slide over the body weight here. And it's passing through the center of mass. Good push using the little leg here. So the force does not go this way here. So you can see that in his case, he's just having a bit slow start here, but good climax toward the second half of the backswing, and then good connection from backswing to downswing. So he can generate a large amount of torque at the beginning of the downswing here.
Yeah.
And then, so when you look at angular momentum here, this is his body angular momentum. So he reaches maximum angular momentum of the body at ED, which is when the club is aligned vertically. So this is good timing. And from there, the body loses this much angular momentum. But still, the total angular momentum still increases. And then that's all going to the club angular momentum here. So at impact, the club has twice as large angular momentum as the body. So he's using his wrist really well.
Yeah.
So that club has a lot of momentum. So this is the kind of thing you want to have in your imaging.